Bob Allen when he presented a book he wrote at the California Native Plant Society. And I have found that an excellent book. I love your character tables. Hardly anybody else does them. Sorry, hardly anybody does character tables. And yet, if you're trying to distinguish between different, very similar looking plants, that's the only way to go about it. Or similar looking crabs and crustaceans and polychaetes. So that was great. But now he's going to be talking about bugs. And we've had enough already tonight.
Well put.
But I hope you all enjoy this. I think you will.
If I don't get an applause, I'm going home right now. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yay.
Okay. We're supposed to have fun, right? All right, so relax. I am. All right. Okay, so let's dive on in here. Can you guys on Zoom hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to go over and share my screen and launch that, and it's right over here. And our friend Zoom sometimes messes this up, so be patient. I'm going to go play. All right, you guys on Zoom, can you see this okay? Just nod your head because you're muted. No? Zoom?
It looks fine. I see the clock waiting to load.
All right. Perfect. How about the next slide? That's usually where it messes up.
Looks like a flower turning.
Thank you. Very good. Okay. All righty. Moving on. Let's go. This is this stuff here. All right. So, whoop. Oh, got away. Sorry. Anybody see a bumblebee around somewhere? Okay. So we're going to look at insects and other arthropods of coastal sage scrub. So I'm a botanist and an entomologist. My big thing is pollination biology, which I totally love. It's really super cool. Okay, so let's go take a look. Hey, I've been there. I was just here a week ago and you guys weren't open yet. How dare you? I had to take a picture outside going, I want to go see this place. I live a long way away, right? It's not like driving down the street to get this, but what a beautiful garden this place has, right? That's unbelievable. Holy cow. Oh, that's pretty good too. No, you're a good point. Thank you, Ann. You were right. Across the street is excellent too. So I'm the author of this book, Wildflowers of Orange County in the Santa Ana Mountains. Some of you have it. Some of you use it as a doorstop. And it covers this area. I'm from Orange County, so that was the main goal. I have hiking trails in Orange County where to see stuff, right? Specific there. But the co-author, Fred, on the right there, who's my childhood friend, he went through all the plants known from San Diego to Santa Barbara. And our book covers about 98% of them. So it's perfectly usable here too. It's really usable here. We have exactly the same plants you guys do. Just a few here and there that aren't in the other place. And also up to about 6,000 feet in the San Gabriel Mountains and San Bernardinos and stuff like that. So it's totally usable. Okay, here are some other books that are really good. I'm sorry, let me minimize that. There we go. Okay, so we have these great books. These are fantastic books. At the very least, you should have them in the library here. You might even want to sell them in your bookshop. You have a bookstore here, I don't know. Insects and Spiders in North America by Arthropods, great friend of Jean's and Dave's mine. And that is a fantastic book of the whole country. Really is great. It's a field guide this thick. So you better have really thick pants pockets. And then California Insects, the new version just came out. It was first released in 1978 and recently updated by 4 people from Berkeley, which means it's mostly Northern California. And then there's Insects of the Los Angeles Basin, which is right here. This is the third version of that. Dave and I helped in the production of that book. The authors interviewed us about our specialties, which happen to be the same bugs. Okay, but because my last name is Allen and comes first in the acknowledgments, I won. Dave's name is buried. Anyway, you really want to get those books. They are fantastic. And, okay, you guys on Zoom, anything up? No?
We can see it.
Okay. This did not. You're good? Or someone has a question?
No questions yet.
Are you monitoring questions?
I'm monitoring questions. I'll bring them
Prevail,
up to you
okay.
if they come up.
Okay,
Could-
good. Thank you, Prevail. And,
No
and I
worries.
don't want to be interrupted, okay?
I'm sorry.
All right, so here's a good online reference. Yeah, it's jumping, I can tell. I'm only getting partial sentences. It's okay to interrupt me whenever you want to submit a question from someone, okay?
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
There we go. Just jumping. It's okay. It's just the technology. That's what happens. All right, we can make it better. Really, this machine should be on Ethernet. Okay, so let's move on. So Bug Guide is a good site. It's very technical. iNaturalist is a great site, and it's for everything alive, everything all over the world now. What's That Bug is kind of an amateur one, but it's a lot of fun. The guy who runs it is not an entomologist. He likes insects and their relatives, and he'll answer your question. You can submit to him a picture, and he'll figure out what it is. And then Orange County, we have Peter Bryant's Natural History of Orange County, which includes Los Angeles County. It's just that's what he named it because he works and lives in OC. He's a professor at UC Irvine. And then Wayne Armstrong's Wayne's Word, which now has its own URL. You might notice that, Gene. He's no longer at Palomar College. He's retired. You know those retired people. So I was just talking to Wayne. Great guy. He knows everything. So great website. All right. So moving on. What is coastal sage scrub? All right. What's coastal sage scrub? Well, it's a plant community. It's a plant community. You really need to know what we're talking about first. So I know you know because you live here among coastal sage. That's what's here. But let's just dive into it a little bit. It is a plant community. Plant communities are defined as a group of plant species that occur in a given area under specific conditions, including soil, usually the same soil, the same slope, moisture, wind, temperature, sun exposure, and shade. And then the plants live there, and that forms that plant community that is coastal sage scrub, and other plant communities too. All right. So not only plants, you've got all kinds of animals, protistans, bacteria, all kinds of great stuff live in these communities. The ecologist Victor Shelford was around in the early 1900s, came up with his own system. Instead of calling them plant communities, he said we should include the names of one representative species from those other groups in the name of every living community. So in Big Bear, for example, we have his title. We have the yellow cap fungus, Jeffrey pine, California bear. See where I'm going with this? A Big Bear bacteria, and we have the entamoeba, something like that. He would put in the name. So it wouldn't be called coniferous. It would be all these things. So his names got really long and unwieldy, and in his description included example living things from all of those categories. So his book is this thick, and it's just describing those communities. We use plants as an indicator for a community now because they don't get up and walk away, right? We could call it the California coastal gnatcatcher community, but that moves around as development occurs, things like that. So we don't name it after birds. We don't name it after grasshoppers. We name it after the plants because they're more permanent. They're not totally permanent, but it's just some way to communicate. Okay, so plant communities have one or more dominant species. All right, might be the largest species, might be the most common or the only species in the community. They influence other plants in some way. And then they may change as you go inland a little bit. You get a different plant dominating or different plant living with buckwheat, things like that. And that has a direct effect on what insects live there and what birds live there. Right, like along the coastal fog belt, like right here, your coastal sage scrub is primarily California sagebrush with some other species too, like California buckwheat. I'm sure you all know that one. Black sage, lemonade berry. Those are really common plants that are here too, or were before we strip the hills a lot, which happens in everywhere. And then you go hot, dry inland, like Ontario especially. You get primarily white sage instead of black sage. You get a switch. It's still the same community, but it's a little different. So you get a lot of the same plants. The plants determine a lot of things. They determine what birds are going to be there. If you're a bird person, I'm a birder too, or lizards and all kinds of good stuff. All right, here are some of those communities that we have in the state. So you notice some common words here and there: coastal, 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 scrub, 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 marsh, marsh, estuary. Okay. And then we go down here, we got grassland. There's lots of kinds of grasslands. It wouldn't fit on the screen. We have some woodlands. And then we have some chaparral. We have lots of kinds of chaparral. And then we have forests. So I listed those out. I try to keep them in groups. You could see we have all these different habitats. And some of these things should come to mind. All right, you just say the word and you know, oh, I know what that looks like. I would find this snake there. I would find this bird there. Okay, why are they named for the plants? That's part of what I was starting to get at. All right, plants don't move. Plants cast shade, which everything needs. Plants help hold water, and more on this soon. So here are some different habitats. Here's grassland, soft plants. All right, they're pretty short. Shade is very sparse. It's only a little bit underneath it like that. And then here's a scrub community. This is representing all the scrubs. Scrubs are scratchy. It's a great way to remember it. Scrubs are scratchy. So they're more or less short. Mostly you're taller. And then shade is pretty much sparse. So kind of like that. There's space between it. And then we go woodlands. Lots of kinds of woodlands. Woodlands are woody. Great way to remember it. Woody trees and shrubs. They're woody. They're tall. By that I mean they're taller than you. And then shade is kind of patchy like this. That's a very definition of woodland. There's some space between the patches of shade. There's space between oak trees, for example. That would be an oak woodland. It's a woodland because there's space and made of oaks. Great way to remember it. And then when you get a forest, now forests filled in and contiguous shade and also very tall, and shade is pretty much contiguous like that. There's your shade right there. It also shows the depth of the shade. Like far left, the shade is not very strong. And then going to the right, the shade gets darker and darker till you actually get real life shade. So if you've been in the redwood forest, you know you've been in the redwood forest. It's very shady, moist, leaf litter. We don't call it leaf litter anymore. It is fallen leaves. And it's going to give you that. It's going to hold in the moisture in the soil, which is really important. Okay, this is my famous 50% of ecology in one slide. You ready? Okay. All right, this is going to be great. Geology, the hard rock of the earth. Okay. There it is right there. The geology influences the geography, the landforms. So I'm going to fill those in. There we go. Hills and valleys underlain by rock. And then the geography determines where plants can live. Plants. There we go. And then what plants are there form habitats, also called communities, like this. Now we fill that in. And now other things can live there, like this. Okay, all other life forms, like this. Get it? 50% of ecology in a slide. I've been using it for years. It works great. You get all the rest is detail. You get that. That's ecology. Oh, I almost forgot. These live there too, but be very careful. Huh? Dave and I have been getting each other back for decades. We're in each other's shows all the time. My win, though. So the other 50% is just details. That's also a trademark statement. Okay. So now on to some arthropods. All right, here's a few arthropods right here. So we're going to look at the tree here. We're going to look at trilobites. Heard of trilobites? Okay, trilobites, once very numerous in all the oceans. They did not disappear overnight. That is an urban legend. They started decreasing over millions of years. Something was changing on the earth. And then slowly dying off and dying off and dying off. And they're all gone. Okay, they did not disappear overnight. That is a false statement. It did not. Okay, and then we have a group that are called the chelicerates or chelicerata. These categories are mostly based on their mouth parts, how they eat. So Chelicerata includes spiders, scorpions, ticks, mites, sea spiders, horseshoe crabs, sea scorpions. And then we have the myriapods, myriad, right? A myriad of things, many pod is a foot, many feet. And that's 4 groups that live locally. And then we have the crustaceans, these guys, crabs, lobsters, pillbugs, househoppers, and barnacles. And then we have the hexapods, things that have 6 legs. Okay? Insects are not the only things that have 6 legs. So then we go like this. So here we're going to look at a few of those, no crustaceans. The ocean's over there. You can go there and look. Okay. Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Gene's going, no, the ocean's over there, but it's over there too. It's wraps. I'm from that way. Our ocean's over there, Orange County. Okay, so anyway, we look at these. Here are the chelicerates, the arachnids. We'll look at these guys first. Here we go. This is a page out of Art's book. Oh my gosh, what a great book. Beautiful drawings. I put in orange if they live in Orange County. So I mostly give this talk in Orange County. So you can't miss it, right? That means they also live in this county. So top left, spiders. And then we have scorpions. I'm sure you noticed them. Look at spiders. We've got spiders, we've got scorpions, solifugids, and they have other common names too. Euro pigeons, which don't live here. Sadly, they're a neat bug. Sorry, guys, on Zoom, I walked away. And some other critters too. We'll get into the details of those in just a bit. There we go. It's a nice, oh, sorry, too far. All right, what's in the top left? Everybody. Tarantula. All right, so we've got a spider. Spiders are known for a bulbous abdomen, a narrow constriction, and then an area that's the head and the thorax fused together. Okay, but there's always a narrow constriction between the abdomen and the rest of the body. So the next one we have is a green lynx spider eating a horrible European invasive species of bee. And then the next is going to be a Western black widow. I'm sure we're all familiar with that one, right? They're everywhere. And then second row, far left, that is a harvestman, harmless. Notice how the head, the thorax, and the abdomen are all big and broadly connected to each other like a football on legs. I mean, American football on legs. Okay, anybody remember the cartoon in the 60s, Johnny Quest? Great cartoon. They had a giant spider robot attacking them. No, it wasn't. Because it had head, thorax, abdomen, all joined broadly. It was a harvest. Okay, that robot. So, you know, don't mess up in your cartoons with me. Okay, so then we have a tick and a mite and another mite. And then bottom left is a scorpion. Of course, we have those. Middle there on the bottom is a wonderful thing, right? Dave and Jean and I have gone after these in Arizona, I'm sure. They shoot acetic acid at predators. That's known as vinegar. They can shoot, not, the tail has nothing to do with it. It just sits there. They shoot it out glands in the base of the tail, and they have deadly aim. So if you like being shot with salad dressing, you should come with us sometime. It's really fun. Okay, and then there's some others that are relatives that aren't. It's called a vinegaroon or whip scorpion. That tail is not a whip. It's just a dumb common name. Common names are just terrible. I'm going to make a shirt up because I say it all the time in my classes. Common names suck. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. In entomology and plants, very few have common names. Very, very few. There is no AOU for you bird people. There is no AOU for anything else on the planet. Only birds. American Ornithological Union, right? They come up with official common names. They don't exist for other things. So you can call any other thing, if it's not a bird, you call it by whatever name you want. You can't be wrong because there's no official common name. Okay, moving on. So here are the spiders. I'm going to go fast because I've got too much detail on this one. This is actually a class lecture. Okay, so here's one of the many tarantulas we have locally. In, I think it's like 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks, I'm doing my annual, doing for almost 20 years now, tarantula. First I do a spider talk. This is part of it. And then 2 days later in the late afternoon, we do a tarantula hike on a local preserve in San Juan Capistrano, my hometown. And we go out looking for tarantulas, wandering around. We count how many we get. The public's invited. It's a big fun thing. And we find the males wandering and we go fishing for the females. because they make a burrow underground and they stay there. So I found if you take a shoelace and you very carefully fish it down her burrow, she grabs it, and you can slowly and gently pull her up. She comes up. And everybody goes nuts and takes photos. Oh my gosh, it was great. Every participant gets a shoelace and we go fishing. And of course, we get a lot of young teens, excuse me, elementary school, junior high, high school, college, news reporters. They always go nuts for stuff like that too. So it's really fun. Really fun. It's crazy. You got to go very slowly because you don't want to hurt her. All right. And we go do that. Then we do trapdoor spiders too. Same thing. I very carefully pry one open and she comes up going, hey, it's knocking on my door. And we take her picture and we leave her alone. Okay, so here is a Western black widow. All right, so we all know these ones. We know they're not brown widows, which are non-native species that have invaded in the early 90s. So we have here our native Western black widow female. We're all familiar with that, I'm sure. Bright red, blood red, hourglass. Excuse me, that little one over there is the male. Okay, so the male has to make his way into her web and without dying, because she might think it's an insect trapped, and he has to make it to her to go mate. And then, zoom, before she can catch him and eat him. That's why she's called a black widow, right? Because now she's a widow if she eats him, but that's what happens. That is the male. A lot of people don't recognize it. They're nowhere near as big as the female. Their coloration's totally different. Male may or may not have some red on him. Sometimes they don't. They just have yellow on them. Got to look. Okay. And then here's an orb weaver. This is a great time of year to see them. Oh my gosh, I get so many requests about this. Why, when people can't figure something out, they just pick up the phone and call the nearest college or university? So I worked at Cal State Fullerton for many years, and on their list, people call the general number. It literally says if someone calls about asteroids, UFOs, blah, 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 here's the person to refer them to. You just transfer them over. And somehow I got on the bug list. And so I would get calls from the public, and mostly it's these giant spiders showed up in my yard this week. What planet did they come from? And so I'd ask them to adjust their aluminum hat, and let's talk about it. They are in your yard all year long. They don't get big until it gets warm outside. When they're little, they hide under leaves. They don't want to be exposed because they think something's going to eat them. So they hide, and they just capture little things crawling around under leaves in your plants, and they get bigger through the year, but they never come out in the open until they're big. They didn't just appear. They've been in your house all year long. The females die in the winter, just like Charlotte's Web. All right, so she lays eggs, and then she dies in winter. Eggs live the rest of the year, rest of the winter, excuse me, and hatch in the spring, go their separate ways. Some of them get eaten by their brothers and sisters. Spiders are very cannibalistic. And then they wander off and they start catching things. And they'll only make that big web when they're big. That's why you see them there. I just face planted one today. All right, coming out of my house. And in the early morning, I always go to the local donut shop to collect June beetles and get a cup of coffee. The owner digs it when I do that. And I just planted into one in front of his shop. All right, so you just take it out from under your tongue, put it back on the plant. But they're totally harmless. They're just scary. Like, not to me, but some people are scary. Okay, so now we have a crab spider. Their legs are kind of crab-like. Beautiful spiders are all over the place. You get things like jumping spiders. This one's hard to see. After I shot this and came home and looked at it and went, man, I should have got one directly from the back of it down on top of those beautiful orange patterns. But this is a very common group of jumping spiders, the Phidippus jumping spiders. So you can see the butterfly is here. This is the spider. That's one eye. Very, very fuzzy. All this fuzz, those are legs. So they jump on their prey, they grab them, they can handle things much bigger than themselves. They're very strong. Okay, so jumping spiders, very common in coastal sage. Great thing to see. Yes. They can. They generally don't. I have never been bitten, but I know Walter Ebling at UCLA in his book has a great photo of one that got really mad. He must have really pissed it off because it hopped on his arm and it went bite, 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 bite. But the bites are tiny and of no consequence. And he put it in his book. These things sometimes bite me. And then the whole world thought, oh, they bite everybody. No, never been bitten. I raised them, never been bitten. Hold them all the time. Really fun. Okay, those are very common. Green lynx spider, who's seen this? Probably most of us. If you have a garden, you have definitely seen this. They also can come in red. That means they've been usually on a rose bush with a caterpillar that eats pink roses. And they acquired the color of the blood of the caterpillar. All right, when they eat the caterpillar, yeah, they acquire its color. Yep, kind of fun. Okay, so they're just like this big. They're just scary looking because they have more eyes than you and more legs. And really hairy legs. They may be hairier than you. I know, totally. I love these guys. They're just really pretty. And it's on milkweed, which is a lovely plant too. Okay, and we have scorpions. Yeah, we do have some here. This is Dana Point on the bluffs over the ocean. I was almost on the edge of the bluff above the ocean down a big bluff. So yes, they can live near the ocean too and under rocks at the ocean. We have lots of species of scorpions and none of them are of any consequence. When they sting you, you can have a little pain here. You can get a tummy ache. Some people get a fever. You are not going to die. Okay, you may quote Dave, and you're not going to die if you get stung by a scorpion here, except if you or your neighbor took a boat to New Mexico, Arizona, or northern Mexico, a really nasty one may have hitchhiked on your boat, and that's usually a boat. There are specimens from Long Beach, it's pretty close to here, of a really dangerous scorpion from those areas brought back accidentally on somebody's boat. There are many records of those in a place in Irvine in Orange County from the 70s where they got established. In Mexico and Arizona, they kill children. That's a bit of a problem. So what happened when they were showing up in this neighborhood, someone took some specimens to vector control in Orange County and said, these are weird scorpions. What's going on here? And they identified it and went, holy crap, that's a Durango scorpion. Those are nasty. They they often kill children of 8 years old and younger. Okay, not a good age. All right, there's lots of stuff. Yeah, it's very dangerous. Also older folks. Okay, so this is actually a very safe scorpion from Dana Point. And one of my students, who's now got his PhD at UCLA, became a professor himself, he likes to pick them up. I won't do that in front of students. You know that. You know Louis, right? You remember Louis Lapierre? Yeah, Louis picks up everything. Yeah, yeah. Louis was one of my high school students back in those days. He's a professor, but he likes picking them up. But he knows how to identify scorpions too. So I know send him my pictures and he tells me which one it is. Okay. So scorpions, they're actually really common. They're also in wood rats' nests. You guys know wood rats, also called pack rats, Neotoma. Okay, beautiful, beautiful native rats. They're not interested in your house, by the way. My students always freak out. Oh my gosh, this big rat. It hates people, wants nothing to do with you. It's like, all right, it's my favorite rat. It has good taste. Okay, so scorpions are often in wood rat nests. And wood rats make a stick nest. You guys probably seen those too. If you've been looking for towhees, don't we all look for towhees, right? Okay, they like to scratch leaves under trees and shrubs. People are always saying, there's a mountain lion over there. No, that's a towhee. It's a little bird about that big. Likes to scratch, but they're looking for scorpions to eat in some cases. They're in the right area to be looking for scorpions. So never put your hand where you can't see it, right? You don't go, oh, I'm going to go see what's under these leaves, under this toyon. You know, don't do that. People do it. Okay. And then we have these guys, wind scorpions. They go by other names too. Here we go. Oh, whoop. What was that?
Is being recorded.
Are we okay? It sounded like it stopped and started the recording. Okay, moving on. So yeah, these guys look scary. Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, they can get big, mostly in the desert. They're bigger in the desert.
Thanks. I finally got on.
Okay. Are you controlling the Zoom back there? Okay, because we need someone to mute. Okay. Oh, you can do that from your phone, can't you? Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we go. I'm glad you're on. And then we go over here. This is actually one I photographed in the desert. Those are sand grains. Those aren't boulders, right? Or stone. Those are sand grains. This is why you want a macro lens if you're into photography. And you guys are right by my buddy's shop over at Paul's Photo. I hope you know who that is. Mark Coleman's my very good buddy for decades. He's in Africa right now leading a safari. I went to see him before I came here. That boy, he keeps trying to get me to go. And I said, there's a thing about, remember I'm a teacher. I don't have money to go to a safari. So my safaris are California. Okay, so that's a sunspot. All right, Kari, we have mites and ticks. Those two are actually on my body in these pictures. These are out of my wildflower book. I have a whole section on safety. So ticks, yeah, so they're arachnids too. They're around. Millipedes, centipedes, these are a couple things. There's a millipede. They're like a cigar with legs, many, many legs. There's those. You can find those if you're out birding early in the morning, usually, or hiking or planting. Centipede, we get some pretty big ones here. The biggest ones are from parts of Asia, which are this long, and I've seen them alive, that big. They eat frogs. They're really big. These will give you a nasty bite. I'm going to spend a sec on these. There's their mouth. Their fangs are actually modified front legs. They're not mandibles at all. They do have mandibles, but they're small. But that big old thing called a maxilliped, that's the first pair of legs. They're gigantic, and they have two venoms because one's not enough. One venom causes really hardcore pain, and the other venom causes numbness. I know, really. Wait a minute. Aren't those opposites? If you've ever had a nerve pain, it also often causes pain and numb at the same time. Or if you've ever gone with your elbow, which makes everybody else laugh, I would call it funny bone because everybody else laughs, not you. Thank you, sir. Okay. That pinches that nerve because it's way too surface, and it pinches the nerve, and you get that pain and numbing at the same time from that.
Have the same deal with the first and second maxilla and maxilliped.
Yeah, there's some scary crustaceans too. I stay on land.
I would, when I was going through samples, I would imagine being this big and how scary they'd be.
Totally horrifying. You're right. You're right. Did you know, if you hold up your pinky like this, that over 90% of all life on Earth is smaller than that pinky right there? You got to remember that. We're big, really big. So we look over a lot of stuff that we shouldn't. You think looking for birds is tough? Try it when your critter you're looking at is this big. Yeah, it's a lot more work, but it's all fun. Okay, the true insects like this. All right, we have things like this. Far left, we've got primitive insects, no wings ever. We've got early aquatic insects like dragonflies, winged as adults. And we have the orthopteroids like grasshoppers and their relatives, wings as adults for most of them. Hemipteroids, the true bugs and thrips, and as Dave knows, body lice. And then the completes. All right, so here's the jumping bristletails, very common in coastal sage scrub. They're jumping, boing, 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 boing. They're hilarious. Boing, boing, look like a long, skinny flea, but they're not a flea. They can't bite you. Can't. Not possible. Can't bite you. They want to eat decomposing leaves. They can have them. Okay, jumping bristletail. They're related to silverfish, which you can get in your house and in the wild, which are, flat, and they eat mostly carbohydrates. Okay, and there's their life, and move on. Dragonflies, gotta love dragonflies and damselflies. Here is one from the San Joaquin Wildlife Sanctuary down my area. Probably a flame skimmer. Jess, sound good? You're close. Neon skimmer, thank you. Thank you. I knew it was a little too bold, huh? For flame. Okay, thank you. See, I knew you'd be here. Actually, I didn't, so thank you. Okay, so dragonflies, very common. Grasshoppers, we've got a lot of those. All right, there is a local grasshopper that can make a sound just like a rattlesnake. Its common name, again, not official, that I've used my whole life is rattlesnake grasshopper. Is it makes a noise just like a rattlesnake. You're walking along, but there's a pause. They go and they stop. And you count like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Going, where is that rattlesnake? It's got to be for some. So if I'm leading a walk, and I do a lot of those, we actually triangulate on it. You get 3 people, at least 3 groups or 3 people to point where they think it is. And then we all look, if it's the same place, we all look very carefully, especially if you have binocs with you, it's great. You can find the grasshopper. If you get near it, it'll fly away. Right? You can catch one and check it out, but they're totally harmless, but they sound like a rattlesnake. It fools an awful lot of people that are new to hiking. They'll actually go tell the ranger, there's a rattlesnake on this trail. And because I do docent work too. And if I'm there, it's like, hey, so tell me, did it do this? You know, not stop basically. Or did it do the little pause thing I did for you? And almost always it's the pause thing. So it's a beautiful grasshopper. They're all green. They're really pretty. They don't look like a typical grasshopper. Okay, so here we have one. This is a Melanopus grasshopper, showing you what a beautiful thing. Sitting on California buckwheat. Grasshoppers are just beautiful things. All right, very common. If you're down near a riparian area, you know, standing water, you get this guy, very uncommon. You might get it in Madrona and some of the wetter places. They are here in Southern California, but they're really hard to find. So it's a cattail toothpick grasshopper because they're narrow. They're always on cattails. I think they probably feed on them. And this one was very difficult to photograph. I was hiking and my camera, and I could see this thing on a cattail. Well, cattails are either in mud or they're in water and mud. So I, boots and all, walked into the water and had this thing framed up, and it walks to the other side. And I move over here. Okay, I'm going back and forth. I'm playing games with this thing. So now I'm holding my camera, which got a big flash on it and a diffuser, all this stuff. It's heavy. I'm holding that, holding the cattail, and slowly rotating it. Rotate him back in, take some photos, and then he goes, great. So I got to rotate it some more, still holding this heavy camera. So I got these, I only got 2 or 3 good photos from this. Aren't they? Look at those eyes, striped eyes. They're so pretty. And between you've got the head and the eyes here, and this part of the head forms this cone head, you know, like Dave. And then you've got antenna here like this. Beautiful thing, isn't it? Just a beautiful grasshopper. I've never seen one again. Just that one day. I do know a couple other people that have found them in my area. But keep your eyes out. You're doing some riparian work. Really very pretty things. Okay, this is in a hot, dry area in coastal sage scrub and chaparral. This is a mating pair of gray dragon lover grasshoppers. And I love the specific epithet on that, monstrosus. What a great Dracotetics, right? Which means, literally means dragon katydid, but close enough. And then monstrosus, because they're just huge. And the females don't ever get fully grown wings. Right? The male does, but the female does. And they're really big. Okay, gray bird, this is the largest grasshopper in North America, but when they're young, they're green. And when they're adults, they're a gray, light brown. Huge grasshoppers, huge. This is my front yard. All right, so I photograph these things in my yard all the time. My yard is 100% native California plants. So I get California native insects in my yard. Fantastic. All my other neighbors are like plastic grass. Ugh, not habitat for anything.
So I've got it's not a full adult.
Nope.
Right? I've got plants in my yard too. I find the gray bird grasshoppers this big, that big. Yep. But they don't molt again, right?
Once they've molted 5 times, they're done. Yeah.
Are they most of them in the gray colors, or are they all green?
The nymphs are almost always green, and the adults are almost always the light gray. Yeah. Yep. I think it's 1, 2, 3 are green. 4, they're starting to turn, and then 5 is definitely the light brown.
I've just seen them in different sizes.
Yeah. And there's also 3 species that look a lot alike that are slightly different in adult size. And if its wings are usable, they can fly away, it's an adult. It's a quick way to tell. So that's instar. Probably so. Yeah.
Spiders.
Well, spiders balloon. So they're going to be everywhere. That's very good. Very fun. Okay. This is a katydid. And I really want to show you the katydid and have you zoom in on its knee. You see its knee, right? So its legs are like this. All right. So that first knee there, right after the head, the knee is kind of reddish at the base on the femur, and then it goes down on the tibia. You see that oval right in there? Those are its ears. Okay. Don't look at everything as if it's the same as a human or a mammal or even a vertebrate. Yeah. So katydid's ears are on their knees. I'll walk over. Ears. Okay. Some of them have their flaps. Like I can't. Katydid. Here. Here. It's got ears right here. So you look for little flaps. Mickey Mouse here. No. Could be like seals and sea lions. Right? So eyes, antenna, 6 legs, big jumping legs.
So what kind of hearing does it have? Is it something in the membrane or-
Pretty good hearing. Katydids can hear all kinds of things. They can hear you coming and you talking at them or making lawnmowers. They hear all that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know if it's been measured, but it seems pretty good.
And they should be able to understand.
That's right, because it is one on each side. That's right. Very good. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, we'll have to ask Jeff. He should be here, but he's important now, so you'll. Exactly. You could call it either one. It's up to you. Yeah, it's the front legs. So it could be either one. Okay, so here's another species of katydid. Some of them are big, some are skinny. You can attract insects at night to a light with a white sheet. Super easy, low tech, cheap to do. You can just if you have a white bulb on your porch light, back or front, probably back is better. Then your neighbors don't see what crazy stuff you're doing. And you just put a sheet up somewhere, a white sheet. Just make one that you're not going to use tomorrow. I have cheap ones I buy at discount stores. That's what I use to put up for bugs. And then that's what we did here. And we do public black lighting events and white lighting events on the Irvine Ranch. This is from one of those. Public comes in and they get to see how we crazy bug people collect our stuff. Okay, and then this, now we're talking. Jerusalem crickets, Amopelmatus. All right, this guy, why don't I just show you? This guy.
We on Zoom can't hear anymore.
You are right. I went to go get something. I can't bring the laptop to there, so sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Oh, so I'll pass it around and it will not jump. If you want, you could dump it out in your hand and let it crawl on your hand. It might bite you. There's a pretty good chance it will bite. Okay, yeah, but I'm not worried about it. Right? As long as it doesn't bite me, it's okay. No, I don't let my students hold these. Okay, unless it's someone with very tough skin. I guard them, so my hands are tough. Okay, so I'm going to pass that around. I want you to have a look at it. It's this critter right here. And what's really fun about it is this one's new to science. This has no scientific name yet. It's not been published yet. So different photo, but same place. Yeah, they're in my back, same species. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. right now, there's over 200 species of these that need names. Yeah, they've already been proven. He's run the DNA. He's done the morphological studies, what they look like, recorded it. I can't tell you what he wants to name these, because if that name slips into any kind of publication, then you own the name. That's the rules. My major professor at Cal State Fullerton, my major professor at Cal State Fullerton was naming 2 species of lacewing insects. And he's talking to a European lacewing expert. He said, hey, yeah, I've got these 2 species of lacewings. I'm about to publish them. And he said, oh, cool. What are you going to call them? And he made the mistake of telling him. The other guy published that as a note in a scientific journal that's just said, hey, good news, everybody. Phil Adams has 2 undescribed species of lacewings. He's going to call them these names. According to the rules, there are rules. That other scientist owns the names. Right? He is now the author of that species because it went into publication. So that tells us all in science, we don't tell anyone the scientific name we're going to use. The common name does not matter at all. Scientific community doesn't care about common names. So it's the scientific name that counts. So I'm not going to tell you what the scientific name is. But what I want the common name to be is Allen's Jerusalem cricket. It's only fair. I've already got some other stuff. So, but he wants to name it after the city I live in. I'm going, no. City did not find it. I did. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's another name for it. Yeah. Or if you speak Navajo, Wotsine, or if you are Hispanic, you are going to call it Carlos Niños or Niño de la Tierra, or there's all kinds of names. There's so many names. And following Hispanic lore, what happens to you if you see one? There's more. There's more. Anybody? Except that's a vertebrate. You will die if they look at you. That's one of the Hispanic legends. You will die. So sorry, everybody. Someday it will get you. Someday it will get you. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of lore about this. There's 2 things that have the most urban legend stories about them in human culture. One is human sex. Okay. I have students ask me all the time, can I have sex in a hot tub? Is that safe? Yeah. You know what we call people that try that method? Parents. Yep. So I tell them all that. No, it doesn't work. So, and the other is insects and other arthropods. There's so many stories. Okay. So this is a species new to science. So when we don't know what species it is, but we know the genus, we write the genus down, and then SP period means a species in that genus. So actually it's old, but it used to be used only for some of them. Dave is saying, no, they're all of them except the ones down by Mexico City are amopalmas. Right. Yeah, but Dave has sorted them all out with DNA. It's like here's the genera of them, and everyone was calling all of them Stenopomatus, but really the wrong name. Okay, so there's Jerusalem cricket. Everybody see those? Oh, still coming on. Great. Okay. All right. Okay. And then we have the Mantodia. We have praying mantises like these guys. Here's just a quick drawing of these beautiful mantids. We've got several species in Southern California. One is this big and runs on the ground. So it's called a ground mantid. Clever name, huh? Just a little bitty guy. Easy to step on him when you're walking around anywhere, all over the place. Okay, so here's one. This is California mantid. And let's look a little closer. Ring, there it is looking right at you. There is the California mantid. And you guys have these up here too. They're very, very common. They're usually kind of slender. They can be brown or green. This one was found really close to where that black widow was photographed, which is the entrance to the women's restroom at Casper's Wilderness Park. So I went photographing with 3 other guys. So none of us needed to use that room. Oh, thanks. Hey, there were 2 of them in here. Did anybody see? Yeah, oh, that's good. Good. Very good. All right, good. I don't doubt Jess at all. So, okay. So anyway, they were at the same place. They were in front of the women's restroom, and it's pretty good. Oh, I hear noise. Okay. Can't hear a thing. All right, then we have walking sticks. We have lots of species of these. There's one right there. They're all over the place. Some are big, some are small. We have another kind coming up in a minute. They can be usually gray. We have this kind. This is my favorite kind. These are little. That's a ceanothus leaf up in the mountains locally, and these are all over. And a species new to science was described just a few years ago from one of the canyons in the base of the San Gabriel Mountains, not far. So we're finding these things. So you want to discover a new species, study arthropods, because there's lots. I keep finding new things. Dave has too. It's not hard to find new species. Okay, termites, of course, we all love those guys. Yeah, oh, sorry. Walking stick, there is no consistent place to find those ones. I found. I sometimes see them on cliff break ferns out in the wild, in a native fern that's dry, it likes the sun. I just haven't found any consistent place. My brother is a professional landscaper, and he occasionally calls me from San Clemente with a picture of one in someone's yard. But in the wild, I have no consistent place. This is coastal sage scrub. You see what it's on there. Okay, so we know it's that. I found them in Anza-Borrego Desert State Park and the same species in Laguna Beach. So they have really no consistent habitat, it seems. Seems weird, but same ones.
Bob, this is I'm on Zoom. What do walking sticks eat?
You know those wooden canes that people use to walk around? No, kidding. They eat leaves. They eat leaves. Yeah, they eat leaves of all kinds of plants. Some of them are restricted to only one or two kinds of plants, though.
Okay. Where's their mouth?
Where's their mouth? Their mouth
Yeah.
is at their head.
Where's
At the head end. So that was Gene. That was not me. That was Gene. So at the head end, the far right there on this one, you see two antennae that are way up high next to each other, and then two legs that are kind of arching out.
Okay.
Between the antennae and those legs, that's the head. And so the mouth is on the underside of the head.
Wow.
I don't think I have a close-up photo of the head, but I have taken those photos. So I don't think I put them in here. Oh yeah, okay, there's some sticks there. Time, I don't want to be too late. You know how many slides I had to cut out of this show? The show was 160 slides, right? And I went, nope, not gonna work. Okay, so there they are. And then we have this little one, the tememas. They're so super cute. And then termites, which are normal and native. They're here. They don't know that you're not done with that house. Okay, they don't know. They mean you no harm. They just want to eat like you do. But sorry if you live there too. Okay, so there's some termites right there. So we have 4 species of termites. And then here are the hemiptera, the true bugs. We're going to look through these. There's 2 groups of these. Far left, we've got the ones with the front wing has a basal part, the green part, that is kind of leathery. And then the outer part down at the bottom is membranous. You can see through it. So they have 2 kinds of wings. They have half the wing is leathery and half the wing is membranous. So they're the half-winged true bugs. And then here on the right, a cicada, for example, notice how their mouth parts come out of the back end of their head, and how the other ones, the Heteroptera with the funny wings, their mouth parts come out the front and curve back. That means they can whip them out this way and spear and eat. So that's part of the whole split there. And then here's just some common ones. This is a stink bug. If those black beetles that stand on their head to release a chemical, those are not stink bugs. Those are stink beetles or acrobat beetles. These are stink bugs. They're in the bug group. Okay. They've got these half wings that look like that right there, right? They've got that half wing. See the big triangular piece in the middle of their body on their back called a scutellum? Big old triangular scutellum on their back. Super easy to see. Most of them eat plants, and they store some of the aromatic chemicals from the plants, and they have little glands in the side of their body under their armpits right here. Which arms you're asking? You're gonna have to find out. Okay, so I knew you were gonna ask me. So they're little flaps. They can actually open these and release this, and they smell great. Smells like fruit. And they're thinking, oh, I'm going to scare them away with this smell. No, not at all. They smell great. Okay, so there's just an example one. Here's a green one. They're brown. They could be black and orange and all kinds of colors, but they're called stink bugs. So try to not use, the wrong name for things. Like if you're a birder, right? I was just going to say seagull because you want to push my buttons. You say seagull. I make that an illegal word in all of my classrooms. Gull. I can even save you some syllables. Gull. And then I show them photos. Here's a California gull, Western gull, and the prettiest one, of course. What's the prettiest gull? Luckily, Heermann's. Yeah, Heermann's gull. Gorgeous gull. Okay. All right. I show them all those. I go, these are kinds of gulls. There's no such thing as a seagull. There's also no such thing as a palm tree. Palms are by biological definition not trees. They're not trees. Just say palm. Or if you know the species, say fan palm, whatever. But don't say palm tree, right? Please don't do it. We're educated people. We're trying to elevate the education of the world, right? You want to teach people, hey, birds are cool and trees are cool and bugs are cool. Well, then use the right names. What does the aquarium call those jelly-like things? Sea jellies. We don't use the word jellyfish anymore. That's been gone for over 30 years. But some people keep perpetuating it. It's a sea jelly. There you go. Yeah, sea jelly. Isn't that lovely? Okay, moving on. Rant over. This is a small milkweed bug. So pretty on milkweed. They're lovely, lovely. Native things are all over the place. This guy. You would. They're all across the country. Yes. And then we have an assassin bug. This is a very dangerous bug. There are very few dangerous bugs that we have, really. All right. Except some of the bees and wasps can sting, but only the females, because that's what they do. And then assassin bug bites, and some of them have something in the saliva that makes you make a reaction. When you get a bump after a bite of any kind, that's you doing the bump. That's not the bug. Your immune system is going, I've been injured. I better flood that with water. And also histamines, a chemical that you make and you send to the site that makes you, then you're itching, which is just dumb, right? And then you have to take an antihistamine to get the itching to go away, right? That's not the fault of the bug. That's your immune system whacking out. So here is one right here. These can transmit a protozoan related to African sleeping sickness. Except instead of making you tired, this parasite that it can pass on invades your heart, your pericardial sac, the plastic around your heart. Yeah, it's kind of important, huh? It's kind of important. Okay, so since you like that so much, can I borrow your hands for a second? We're going to be on the heart. She's going to be, no, I'll do it the other way. You be the heart. Come over here so you guys can see too, because otherwise I'm going to get a complaint. Or someone else can come over and do it if you don't want to get. Okay. Okay. That's okay. It's cold in here. Okay, we're gonna do this. She's gonna be a heart. You guys got it? Okay. I'm gonna be the pericardial sac, which is wrapped around. So these things invade the pericardial sac and make it stiff. It goes like this. Very good job. Very good. Okay, excellent job. That's exactly what they do. So don't hang around these guys. Yeah, and the bite hurts too. So. Oh, they're feeding on your blood. They're not trying to kill you. That's just a side effect. Yeah. 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 Okay. And then if we look at the head, we can see that mouth part coming back from the tip and coming backwards. See it there? I broke off one of the antennae far left to show that big, thick beak right there. Because the point of the beak is very wide and sharp, it hurts when they drive that into your skin. Okay. So that's an assassin bug. They're very common locally. If they land on you, you don't do that. Do this, ding, but not at the person you're walking with. Okay, it's just they're almost always in wood rat nests or near wood rat nests, or when there's a fire and the wood rat nest is burnt, these fly off as it gets hot. And that's when they show up at houses. They're strongly attracted to porch lights.
Segmented beak
Yeah.
is, you see.
Yes. Yeah, you can see the suture. Not this angle. That angle. I do. Dave does, Gene does. Yeah. In South America, luckily, the parasite is very uncommon north of Mexico. They carry the parasite in their gut. Oh, you're going to like how they transmit it. They don't transmit it through the bite like mosquitoes do. They feed on you and they're drinking blood and drinking blood and drinking blood, and they fill up with so much blood they got to poop. No, it gets better. So they take the proboscis out of your skin, turn around, they poop in your wound, and they take their two back legs and stamp it into the wound. Weirdest thing in the world. Yes. They're really weird. And they're a big problem in countries that don't have window screens. And they're a problem here if you don't have good window screens too. The bite hurts, but the parasite generally not found in this country from about middle Mexico north, but they are down there. Some of you may have been to Mexico or south, went a birding trip to Ecuador. These are not uncommon there. And they get in cabins and tents and sleeping bags and all that great stuff. Yeah. Yay. Yes, these are totally native to Mexico, north to Canada. Yeah. And they live with wood rats. They feed on the blood of wood rats mostly. Yeah. But see, in biology, we have this rule. It's not disgusting or gross or it's interesting. Okay. We substitute the word interesting because why do you go to school? To broaden, right? Broaden your knowledge base and deepen your knowledge base and, have a little fun. So I gross people out on purpose. My students remember every story I tell them because I have experience with everything that I show, including that. Yeah. No, wood rats are okay. Yeah. Well, it would ensure that the parasite gets into the blood, but I can't figure out why that would be a good thing for them. They do it. They've been observed. I know they've been observed. Right? The world is a weird place. Oh, parasites are awesome. I had a whole parasite class. They didn't even cover that, but they covered the parasite of that. So I actually brought her some of the bugs that do this. Like, these are the ones. She goes, yeah, I've seen pictures of those. Here they are. Here's some specimens. I collected these. Yeah.
The other common name is kissing bug.
That's true. They like to go on humans. They like to bite around your mouth. They like mucus. So they're giving you a kiss. It's a love bite. Yeah. And a lot of people are allergic to the saliva. I shouldn't say allergic. It's not allergic. They get that reaction, that histamine reaction. Like my dad, his lips were huge if one got in the house and bit him. They're very common after a fire. So in Orange County, we've gone up in flames many times, like the San Gabriel Mountains, gone up flames several times. And then these things start showing up people's porch lights. That one showed up my porch light. That's my yard that came from. And I've got another one that I need to pin that's sitting on my kitchen table, actually. So
By leaving the lights on, tracking the assassin bugs, turn off the lights.
they're going to go, they're what? Number one, they won't believe you. No, you're normal. We know who the weird ones are. Okay, how can you not be interested in everything alive? How can you not be? It's so cool. Okay, no, they're still interesting. Remember the word, it's the law, the word, interesting. Okay, cicadas, beautiful things, make some great noise. A couple years ago, I was up in the Santa Ana Mountains. That's our big mountains in my county. And we found orange cicadas. They were orange. They're beautiful. Dave knows them because he's been to Idlewild before. That species has never been found in the Santa Ana Mountains. One of my buddies and I found them one day. They're mating, they're calling, and they're all over. We got great photos. That same guy is the guy that discovered that new species of millipede that was in the Times this week? You guys see that? That's James Bailey, my buddy. So I was interviewed on national news on Friday. I didn't even know about it. They just go, hey, you know anything about this millipede? I went, wait a minute. Boop. Oh, LA Times. Got it. James Bailey. I'll text him. Hang on. Ask him some questions. And so he wanted me, the news wanted me to confirm that they are luminescent, which is what the LA Times article said. And James's reply was, when I said, are they bioluminescent? He said, I wish. So
Fine.
LA Times, yeah, totally. Yeah, they're literally this big and they're like the thickness of 3 horsehairs. They're really, really skinny. They're really tiny millipedes and they're white. They're beautiful, but they're little bit, and they're found right by my house. Why didn't I? Yeah, SoCal, that's right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it made no sense for them to be luminescent.
If they're underground, yeah. But if they're on the soil, that would be good. Like at night, they do come out when it's moist. And then if they're luminescent, because the fireflies we have locally, don't even tell me we have fireflies. Come on. Do we have fireflies here? Are you going to say yes, no? Are you going to say, what are you talking about? We have 5 species of fireflies here. Okay, but it's Southern California. I'll get around to glowing later. They have the mananas. Like the California firefly doesn't light up. It's our biggest firefly. It's gorgeous. We have another firefly down by me. I found it in Mission Viejo, developed planned community, Mission Viejo. And I'm walking there with my wife. We take morning walks, getting our 10,000s. And this firefly flies in front of me at 9 o'clock in the morning. I went, what in the? And so I sent photos around, first to Art Evans. I said, Art, who's the firefly expert? He forwards it to the firefly expert. He writes back to me and said, get me some specimens. I think it's new to science. So I got to do that. It's not uncommon to find new species, unknown species in arthropods and insects mostly. Just we don't know everything about this planet. We're pretty much done with the birds and the mammals. We got them. They're big. They're easy. Okay. But we're still going to look for them because they're cool. Plants, still discovering plants all the time. I have a sunflower I discovered that's named after me. It's only in Orange County. You know, developed Orange County, where Tragic Kingdom is, and Knott's Berry Farm and all those things, right? The Angel Stadium and all that good stuff. Yeah, we're finding new species there. Yes, absolutely. Even more so. Oh, great worms. Remember Don? Did you know Don Resch? Awesome. And then you know his story about the I know, a total. One of my high school teachers knew him, studied under him too. Oh, come on. What's the classic worm that he said? Polychaetes. Remember what he said he was going to do? If I ever have a daughter, I'm changing my last name to Keat, naming her Polly. Oh, we didn't? Okay. That was the guy I know, and we all have good stories. Okay, so we have aphids. Most aphids are native. The ones that are bad in your garden are not native. They're not from here. Yeah, they can be green, but there's the orange one too that's even worse. That's on oleanders. It's called the oleander aphid. It's also on milkweed because milkweeds are related to oleanders. Okay, so yep, they came in from another country and they're not good. They came in without their natural enemies. Not a good thing. Okay, then we have the beetles, which is the most numerous insect group. Big, beautiful beetles. Got 4 wings. The front wings are kind of leathery or hardened or missing. So we have the green fruit beetle, which is not a, what some people call it? June bug. It's not a June bug. Very good. It's also not a fig beetle is another name for it. It's not a Japanese beetle. Everybody thinks it's a Japanese beetle. This one speaks Spanish. Okay. From central Mexico, northern South America, Central America through Mexico, all the way up to California, Arizona, New Mexico. It's where it lives. Okay. It's this one right here. And they feed on fruit and flowers. And they're beautiful, big, noisy beetles. They're in a subfamily of scarabs, subgroup of scarabs, who don't use their front wings to fly. If you've ever watched a ladybird beetle crawl up and fly away, it opens the front wings, then it flaps with the back and it goes away. These keep their front wings down and the back wings come out through a little groove. See that little curve down there by the back leg, that curve in the front wings? They take their wings and fly there, and they're very clumsy. But it's a whole subfamily of scarabs that only fly like that. So one day I'm at South Coast Plaza, just outside one of the ritzy cafes outside, and there are some very overdressed women sitting there at their own table, sipping their tea. And they were way overdressed, right? They're going somewhere fancy, or they're just fancy. And one of these starts flying around their table, and I thought all of them were going to wet themselves. And I was just standing back enjoying it. It was great. They're freaking out. And I just walked right over. I plucked it out of the air, said, everything's okay. It's just a native beetle. And it flew off my hand and started doing it again. And I went off to my car and I taught them something. I'm out of here. They can enjoy it now. Right? The joys of being an entomologist.
Her sister got up and started screaming. She had two little babies with her. And she was just going nuts.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me and she goes, "Why aren't you running away?" Because it's harmless.
Yeah,
It is. It's
totally
harmless.
harmless.
No.
Yeah, no.
Metro was sort of the car.
That's awesome.
And the doors closed around.
Yeah. We're trying. Yeah, we're trying.
We need nature education.
Right.
Throughout our
Right.
community.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Japanese beetle is much smaller and is not in California. And there's one right there. That's not to scale yet. They're gorgeous beetles. That doesn't mean we want them here. Yeah, they're huge pests. Let's put one next to the beetle here, and let's put a scale one on its back. That's how big it is. No, they would never confuse it. They have their own species of green fruit beetle, but they call it the green June beetle because they're crazy. Okay, this is a subgroup of scarabs that does not include June beetles. So their inclusion of that, they're calling that a June beetle, is insane. But Art put it in his Beetles of Eastern North America book. He kowtowed to that wrong common name. That boy, once he moved to the East Coast, his brain just went to monkey. It does happen. It does happen. Okay. So anyway, that's that. All right. So here's one. There's what they do with their wings. They keep the front wings down and the back wings out, and they fly, and they're not very precise. And so they bump into things. And so people often say they're blind. They're not blind. They're clumsy. Yeah, they're just clumsy. You ever tripped over your own shoe? We've all done it. I still do it. So yeah, they're just clumsy. All right. So and then here's the Pasadena June beetle that used to be our most common June beetle. It's been falling in numbers a lot, though. Sadly, it likes to feed on the roots of grasses in grasslands. We have nuked our grasslands. They're mostly gone. So they've switched over to lawns. Now they're in trouble. All right, because everybody and their grandmother is going to go buy some liquid death from Home Depot and dump it on their lawn and kill everything in their lawn. Bad idea. Yeah, it's okay. So they're going to eat some roots of grass. What else is a lawn for? It's for two things. No one uses the lawn in the front yard. They don't really use it. All right. It is used by beautiful June beetles that are native here, first described from Pasadena. Hey, it's an LA native. They eat some roots. Yeah, you might have little light brown patches of your lawn. And the other thing lawns are used for, that's your neighbor's dog's toilet. Okay, that's it. That's all they're used for. So we don't need it. All right, and then here's the dark-headed June beetle. Isn't he cool? Look at that beautiful mahogany color just behind the head. They're a beautiful thing. And they sleep in the flowers of Jimson weed. And I know you have Jimson weed here. I've seen it in the marsh. You can see it from the road. Aren't they great? Yeah, just beautiful. Oh, wait a minute. Over here. Sorry, Zoomers. So over here we have these guys. These are relatives. This is our largest June beetles in, and I think it's the most beautiful. It's actually all over the western half of the U.S. From the Rockies to the coast, all the way up to the North.
These guys live?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all like, yeah.
Oh, there's the same thing.
They're the same thing. Well,
I would have never.
They don't get hurt now. And when you want to snack. So, hey, and they're right here, and they might fly. This is female, and I have 2 mates. And they might fly because it's nighttime. So I either put my thumb on the leg very carefully, or just leave it. You. Yeah, they're all 3 alive.
When you take them home, you feed them.
I do feed them. They eat plain. Doing a feeding study right now.
So we have times.
That have been introduced. Yeah, they do. They do eat introduced finds too. But they're not pests. They just snack. If you've never seen one, it means they're not very common where you are. They're here. Those would eat those, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes, they do. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. Yep, I've seen it. Not there, but I've seen, yeah. Correct. Yeah. June beetle is a subfamily of scarabs. It's the June beetle subfamily. These are actually true June beetles in the June beetle subfamily, but the green ones are in the fruit beetle subfamily. They're scarabs, but they're not June beetles. No, they use all 4 wings and they only fly at night. The green ones only, the fruit beetles only fly in the daytime and the June beetles only fly at night. Yeah, the big ones zzz, makes a lot of bee sound. Yeah. The green fruit beetles eat? Well, it depends on the species because they all eat something different. Generally plants. I don't know of any beetle. I don't know of any scarab beetles that eat animals, like dead or alive. But it depends on the species. The 10-line June beetle, the larvae eat roots of various things, mostly pines. And then the adults eat the leaves of pines, junipers, and cypress. I still think they eat, there's no reports of them eating oak, but I find them where there's oak and no conifers. So I still think they eat oak. So I'm doing a feeding study. I go out at night with a flashlight and look on the oaks. Never fun. Yeah, June beetles are nighttime. Yes. Yes, that's in your house. That's in your house. That's a domesticated animal that doesn't live outdoors. It only lives just like silverfish, mostly people only. Oh, okay. Now outside, there's multiple species and multiple families. I'm thinking the little domestic beetles that feed on natural fibers like natural fiber carpet, like wool, sweaters, t-shirts, cotton, socks, things like that, and also dried flower arrangements and pasta. And then you've got outdoors, you've got my favorite beetle, which I don't think is in here, is the coyote scat beetle. And they feed, they're a scarab, but they're bigger. They only feed on hairs of rodents that have passed through a coyote. So you look at coyote poop and it's a pile of hair there. These beetles will come in only during the moist months. They like rainy weather. They'll come in and they'll start feeding on the coyote poop. They'll actually stand on the coyote poop waiting for love because there's no match.com for insects. Okay, and where it ends, it's a big problem with living things. I cover this all my classes too. How do things find a mate? And it gets really crazy how they do it. Just like in most species of living things, the female makes the choice. And I tell that to yeah, yep, pretty much. Got to do that dance, right? Show those wings off, show how big they are. Yeah. Yeah. Something. There you go. No, there are lots of insects. The male has to bring food to the female and she'll eat while they're mating. Multitasking. Great multitasking, right? Really good. Yeah.
I've seen the females rebuff males more times than not.
Just like in all species.
And I tell you, guys, you keep that box.
Yeah.
Because once they do hook up, the female keeps exuding pheromones, and so other males try to come in and move in on the action.
Okay, so moving on from this here, there's the 10 lines. I do have them. Aren't they lovely? They're just totally lovely. Yep, love these things. By the way, my best place to get these, the window outside Del Taco. Yep, those are actually in the mountains on that oak tree, right? So that's a normal photo. Yeah, I moved one to be near the other, but otherwise I didn't do anything to the picture. Those are in the mountains. So they're in the mountains all the way down the flats. We get them in Laguna Beach, you know, the beach. So Costa Mesa, there's no natural area left in Costa Mesa. So they're in cities too. Yeah. Okay, I just love them. My favorite one. All right, then rain beetles. These guys are great. The young feed on the roots of California lilac ceanothus species for 8 to 13 years. And then during their last summer, they pupate underground. They're always underground. And then they pupate and they just wait there. And in the fall, like October or so, with the first really good rains, the water gets down to them, wakes them up. They emerge from the pupal case and they're waiting just underground. And they burst through the ground and now they're crawling around. That's a male. They crawl around. Females are much bigger and they don't fly. They can't fly, no wings. So she'll come up to the ground and she'll turn around, put her butt in the air and give off a pheromone. The males fly around in huge numbers looking for females. They follow that pheromone trail, chemical trail, come down, land on the ground, give her a little tap, and then underground they go, they mate, he dies soon, she lays eggs, lives about a week, gone. And then the young emerge and feed on the roots, mostly of ceanothus. All right, and they're actually really common in the, off Mulholland at the freeway, right there, there's a light right on the bridge that Art Evans used to get him all the time when he was a student at Cal State Long Beach. I get them along Arteca Highway in Orange County and other places too. Idlewild has a brown species. There are a bunch of species.
Now, do you ever stop and wonder how did that become a great lifestyle too?
Yeah, it works for them. That's all it needs. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work. Okay, and then ladybird beetles have a lot of species of ladybirds around. We're going to move on. And then their larvae look like little alligators. They're so cute. They bite too, though. Okay, and then here we have things like skeletonizing leaf beetles. These guys are kind of greenish or bluish. Bunch of species, 1, 2, 3, 4 in Orange County alone. They're going to be on different species that are in coastal sage scrub. You'll see these. The birds sure know them. Oh man, the gnat catchers know these very well. That's why they go through and they glean on California sagebrush. They're looking for those larvae. I didn't put a picture in, oops. And they're looking for the larvae and they just gulp them right down. Very high in protein and carbs. Very good. Yeah, they're really super fun. They could be eating your sage, yeah, but that could be them. I know, but you know, we plant native things to do wildscaping because we want things to come in. If I'm excited when I see bites on my leaves, right? It's like, that means there's cool stuff here. There's great stuff here. My garden worked. Yeah. Because as she's saying, they feed on the cells of the leaf, top and bottom, but not the skeleton of the leaf. So you see the vein, they don't eat the veins of the leaf. You're right. Yeah. So it looks like a skeleton. It's pretty cool. Okay, here's a stink beetle or acrobat beetle. There's many species. I see you've got a darkling beetle terrarium over there, which is pretty nice. So there's this guy here, and there's this one, the one that squirted me in my left eye, burnt the entire layer of skin off my left eye, sent me to the emergency room for hours, seemed like days. And then I worked with my ophthalmologist for a week. Every day I came in, he sketched the damage and how fast it regrew. It regrew in 7 days, completely regrown, but it still hurt. Let me tell you, very painful. So don't put them up near your face. Okay. Yeah, these guys, both of these have that chemical. It's it's a benzoquinone. So it's got benzene in it. So it's like squirting your eye with benzene. If you had chemistry class before like 1974, you used benzene. Yeah, it hurts. No, it doesn't hurt my skin. I've been doing that for years. It's the only one that's ever actually squirted my eye. They mostly do it in a gas. That species, I'd never sniffed it before, but I do it on walks. You do things, some of you guys lead walks, right? Leading walks is fun. It's hard to connect with people, so you get them involved and you do goofy stuff. Sending yourself to the emergency room is one of those things. It's a sacrifice. So that's the one that got me. And there's one in that terrarium right over there. Isn't that lovely? Don't you just love acorn weevils? That's from a coast live oak. That's a very common beetle. It's just fantastically beautiful. It drills right through the coating and then lays an egg inside. Yeah. Isn't that great? Yeah. Beetle.
They do that to get that, right?
To repel predators because it smells really bad. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's great footage of a frog or a toad attacking one of those. And the poor toad gets it with its tongue, pulls the tongue back, and then it's trying to spit it out, but the tongue's so sticky it can't get it off the tongue, and it's still spraying in him. So he's going. Oh, finally gets it off, and now he's dragging his tongue in the sand, trying to get the smell off. It's the poor thing. Oh, they have predators. The same video showed how rodents learn not to get sprayed. First, they have to get sprayed because they're not born with the knowledge. They get sprayed, and then they get really smart. They attack it from the head end, and they grab the head, and they drive the tail end into the sand, and they eat the head down about halfway down the body and run away. Okay, they're done. Why would they eat that? Well, the whole thing's got to taste bad, but you know. Yeah, you'd hope, but they must be really hungry to eat. But I've also seen black widows eat these. Pretty amazing. Yeah, they're really, yeah, I know. You think that's a great way to do it. It's like not knowing how to eat an artichoke. No one showed you, right? It's happened to my wife's coworker who was new to the country, was sitting there. They went out to lunch, took her out to lunch. She was new to the country and to this company. And so they all go out and they had some artichoke hearts, and she wasn't watching how people ate, not hearts, artichokes. She wasn't watching how people ate them. She didn't eat them. She went home and got them at the grocery store, cooked them for a family, and they all ate the whole leaves. Didn't scrape it off with their teeth. It's pretty funny. She said, "How can you guys eat that stuff?" Okay.
Just so you know, we'll be wrapping up we're going to try to wrap up about 9 p.m.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow?
or the next day.
Okay, very good. Good. Sounds good to me.
And anyone on Zoom, feel free to ask questions or type in the chat. I'll ask.
Okay, I'm speeding up. Flies. Right? Fly. And then crane fly, not daddy long legs, not mosquito eater, as my dad called them. They don't have workable mouth parts as adults. They eat nothing. They don't drink water. They eat nothing as adults. Nope. And they're super cool. Sadly, their legs fall off if you try to handle them, so don't. Leave them where they are. They're okay. Okay, so here's a drawing I made. So there's a photo of the larva at the left and the pupa at the right, and then I drew the adult because it's really hard to get a good photo of the adult. And believe me, that took a really long time. So yeah, so they're totally harmless. Basically, they're bird food. That's their ecological role. Birds eat them. Phoebes, black phoebes love to eat these things. Beautiful bird. They love to eat these guys. They're all over the place. Many species. You want to find new species? Study those. There are lots of undescribed species in the crane fly group. Mosquitoes, yes. Oh yeah, they're native here, except the two that got in recently, thanks to travelers that lie when they go through inspection. No, I don't have anything with me. No, I wasn't in anywhere where these mosquitoes live. Liars. We can thank them for invasive species getting in. They're liars. Okay, so here's the life cycle. We all know this by now. What? All right, this is not a mosquito. This is a midge. No mouth parts, no biting, no stinging, no harm at all. Mostly you breathe these in accidentally as you're walking along the marsh because they're all over the place. They're attracted to lights. They'll be on your porch lights too. They're just really neat things. They're bird food, ecological role, bird food. Okay, and then flower flies, very pretty. As young, they eat aphids on your plants. As adults, they're important pollinators. They don't bite or sting. Super cool. So if it looks kind of like a bee, but it's only got 2 wings, it's a flower fly, almost certainly. All right. So now we look at the sawflies, ants, wasps, and bees. There's your basic bee body plan. Moving on, close-up of a bee. Bees have branched hairs. Wasps have straight hairs, no branches. So whip out your, next time you see a bee, put it under your electron microscope and get a good picture so you can see those branched hairs. If you've never played with an electron microscope, oh my gosh, they're so much fun. Oh, they're fun. Okay, and then metallic sweat bee, my favorite bees in the whole world. Right here, look at those. Those male on the left, female on the right. Those are metallic sweat bees. They're actually called the angelic metallic sweat bees. Look how pretty. Black and yellow stripes on the abdomen of the male. Look how gorgeous he is. Female picks. He's got those beautiful colors. He just shows them to her. She melts. Next generation. Okay, that lovely all green of the female. Look at those eyes. Gorgeous bees. They're this big. They're that big. They're little bees. Very, very common. Invasive non-native species brought here hundreds of years ago. They are very bad for native bees. They outcompete them, they beat them up, and they outnumber them. Very, very bad for native bees. Bumblebees, yeah. Beautiful bumblebees. See, I told you guys, this tells me I'm past my bedtime. That was my bedtime reminder. I'm up at 4 and I go to bed at like 8. So, okay, so in my whole life, by the way. So it's because my students go, because you're old. So you know what? Maybe you need to take this class next semester. Okay, so black-tailed bumblebee. This is actually a very little bumblebee out in the wild. Isn't it gorgeous? Such pretty little bumblebees. Look at the flower it's on. False indigo. That's what our state butterflies caterpillar feeds on. That plant right there. Tarantula hawk wasps. All right, beautiful things. This is a gigantic female. My wife's 50 feet away with the dog. We're up in the mountains. She's got the dog on a leash and she's freaking out. Don't let it sting you. Ah, man, takes all the fun out of everything. I said, it's not going to sting me. I've been around these my whole life. Okay. So that thing, that one's like body's like that big without the legs. It's a huge female. She's so beautiful. I'm in her face with a macro lens. I'm in no danger at all. I'm not threatening her. I'm not stealing her food. Just having a snack. Okay, butterflies and moths, you get things like monarchs. They have scales on their wings, and the scales are differently shaped according to what butterfly or moth family they're in. Very, very different. Back to the stink beetle again. Oh, thanks. I'm sorry, back to what? Who? These can bite. If you grab them, they'll bite you. But according to Justin Schmidt, who did the Schmidt Pain Index, you might have heard it before, you can Wikipedia it. This has the most painful venom in all of North America. Yep, hurts. Biting has no venom. The stinger has venom. And also it's only females. If it's an insect, only the Hymenoptera group, sawflies, ants, wasps, bees can sting. And if it can sting, it's a female because the stinger is a modified egg laying device. Males don't lay eggs. So I like to freak out my students by having the biggest male bee I can find, or wasp, crawling on my arm. Boy, it gets their attention. It's really good. It can't hurt you. They're not gonna hurt you unless you grab them, and then they'll bite you. But yeah, the bite hurts, but no venom. Okay, so we have butterflies, moths, we have scales, of course. And then we have butterflies, which have mostly active in daytime, and they have a knob on their antenna. Moths active at night, but there's some in the day, and they don't have a knob on the antenna tips. Okay, Western tiger swallowtail. We just saw one on our way to dinner, I think it was. One flew in, yeah, at the restaurant. One flew across the opening of the front door of the restaurant. So they're all over the place. Okay, and we get pale swallowtail, all right, much paler. And then we get monarch butterflies very commonly. They're around. I saw those flying around in Jean's backyard today. And then they hang on trees. You guys have seen this before, right? Everybody been up to Pismo, parts of Ventura. Okay, they're all over. Here's our state butterfly. Gorgeous, isn't it? And here is the female laying eggs. There are the eggs. Talk about getting lucky, huh? There's the caterpillar. I just love that caterpillar. So pretty. And then there's a little close-up. And then they pupate. And when it's closer to emerge from the chrysalis turns clear. And you can see the colors of this male about to pop out. It's a great choice. Our choice for state butterfly came down to two, the monarch and the California dogface. Monarchs live everywhere. That's a dumb choice. Great butterfly, don't get me wrong. This lives in California. Great choice. Very pretty. Do you know how many states have the European honeybee as their state insect? 8. That would be like us having the Asian chicken as the state bird of California, right? That's not any different. That's insane. That's insane. Those states should be ashamed of themselves. All of our state mascots, natives, right here. Okay? Native right here. Those states, oh my gosh, avoid those states. Wait, what else have they got wrong? Okay? Yeah, let's just say if you play banjo, you'll fit right into those states, but not all of them have banjos. There's a couple of them that don't play banjo. They think it's fun to grow corn and walk through it. Okay, so this is one of the dog faces taking nectar through that wonderful proboscis. And then that will be all for me tonight. Thank you for hanging on. I know it's kind of long.
Thank you, Bob. Think there's any more questions? And Zoom people, yeah.
You want to talk to him here?
Any questions from folks on Zoom?
No questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay, but we have them here. I saw you first.
Say a little bit, can you say a little bit about how changing climate may affect these associations?
That's a month, that's a semester lecture. In short. Okay, in science, we make observations, then we try to explain things, right? Our observations have come from all kinds of sources that the climate is changing. I'm doing one project, I'm looking at the movement of populations of a non-native grass from Northern Africa and Southern Europe, how it's moving every year, its distribution's moving. It's been here for 200 years, but it's moving. And it's going to areas that used to not have it. It likes heat. And so it's moved from the western part of the desert to the local mountains like Corona and Lake Elsinore. And then it moves up in the Santa Ana Mountains. That's where I live. That's where I do my research. So it's going up the Santa Ana Mountains. And every year it's a little higher. And then in 2008, it crested the mountain and it's heading for the beach. All right, you know those terrible non-native grasses that get in your socks? It's one of those. It's a horrible grass. And so it's going, now it just kind of went, okay, who else? Wonder if anyone else has reported this movement of that species. I found a paper done in Europe about that grass moving north in Europe. So we're using pieces of observations from all kinds of things. In Greece, their cases of malaria have skyrocketed. And that's because species of mosquitoes that only like hot temperatures have invaded Europe and they're moving north. And every year they're going farther north. So as the climate dries and heats up, these species that need heat are expanding their ranges. Sadly, there's some of the species that can transmit the malaria parasite. And so Greece especially, they're having economic problems, which means then your healthcare is going to suffer too. So the cases of malaria are going way up there and other places in Europe. In Peru, you know why the people built their civilization over 10,000 feet in elevation? Mosquitoes. Those mosquitoes can't live at that elevation. It's too cold. So people kept building civilizations higher and higher up through the years until they finally said, screw this, let's go way up high, make a whole civilization. Imagine having to carry buckets of water from 10,000 feet down to a water source and coming back up. All right. The mosquitoes are starting to reach those areas because the climate is changing. Right. So we need to be prepared for that. It's affecting a lot of species. So we scientists, just like plate tectonics, that idea was laughed at in 1930 when Alfred Wegener first proposed it. He was laughed out of a conference and kicked out of the Geological Society for his view that the continents can move. Right. And since then, we've had all this evidence. It's like we haven't explained anything yet. We have all these observations that stepping back, oh my gosh, all these things fit this explanation. That's what we do in science. We try to find a good explanation for our observations. And that's the case with continental drift, plate tectonics, climate change, all those things. We're seeing all this stuff happen. Birds are changing migratory patterns, right? All these things. Butterflies are changing their migratory patterns. Monarch butterflies change their migratory patterns, and stuff. So we're not sure all of the effects right now, but we're seeing some nasty stuff. And some of it directly affects human health. All the fires we're seeing, that's drying out, droughts, moving, expanding. Yeah, I know it's all bad news, isn't it? I don't like that. Yeah, I know. We don't want to do that, but I mean, we want to do that. We really shouldn't do that. Stink beetle? Okay.
And then you're next.
Tarantula. No. I just couldn't. I had 160 slides. Something had to go so we can get out of here before midnight. No, not even close. We just didn't cover that.
Is someone talking right now?
Yes, Jean's talking. She's answering the question about what about
okay.
leaders?
Gonna have a BX.
A bee expert's going to be here.
Oh, okay.
Third Tuesday in November, right? Yeah, it's pollinators are pretty typical. The first pollinators we have records of are beetles. Beetles are the original pollinators. They show up in fossil flowers of magnolias, which are themselves a really ancient taxon. So they're pollinators, some wasps, all, most bees, not all, a lot of flies, but only from 3 families of flies. So it's not all flies, nowhere near all flies. Butterflies to a very slight extent. Most butterflies are not pollinators, right? Monarchs are not pollinators, except of one species of lily. They're known to be pollinators. That's the Humboldt lily, the one that huge one that hangs down. Okay, your flower as big as your fist. Okay, so yeah, there are different things that pollinate, but mostly those groups. Not a major pollinator, no. It exists. Okay, so as far as I get asked it all the time. So monarchs just, they just exist. That's what they do. And they pollinate Humboldt lily. They sometimes will pollinate milkweed. They go to it nectar from it, but they don't always pollinate milkweed. Milkweed's got a weird pollination system. The pollen sac looks like a coat hanger, yeah, and hooks onto the leg of a visiting insect, mostly bees. And then when they try to get away, it's actually holding on to them and they're going to fly away. And then finally they break free and they go to another milkweed plant to go to the flower. And that little coat hanger arrangement where the pollen's stored in these little sacs has to be perfectly aligned to pollinate milkweed. It goes into a slot like a coin slot in a piggy bank, but it's got to rotate to fit. And then, so it just randomly fits. So milkweed actually has a very low success of pollination and very low seed set as a result. Yeah, relatively speaking, right? Because they produce a lot of ovules and a lot of potential seed, but they actually produce very little seed.
So I do know of a function
Hmm?
of the monarchs. We have a 4.5-month-old kitten and a 15-month-old cat. And the two of them sit, I've got milkweed in the pots right outside of the window in the back of our house. And in unison, watch the monarch fly. It is the funniest thing.
Jean?
I'm sure if you're regular.
Jean is, come over here, just trade me places, come on around.
I'm going to take full credit
This
for
microphone.
having Bob here because I taught entomology at El Camino and Bob was our regular speaker, as was David. David here is the author of the insect collection in the display hall. So if you haven't seen that, those are insects that would occur out on the marsh. And then just this week, we decided we would offer a class on how to prepare and pin and spread insects. So if you're a fan of insects and you find them and you have some, or you would like to know how to do it, David is the expert. And we're going to have that class August 19th, I think it was. It's a Saturday for 2 hours on a Saturday morning. So you know, friends of the
Okay. Any other questions? In Orange County, I don't do them up here. It's just too big. I live in South Orange County. This is a long drive. They're usually advertised in the CNPS newsletter, California Native Plant Society, Orange County Chapter OC, cnps.org. And we do field trips almost every weekend of the year. Yeah, a lot. And we do everything, right? We don't like go, that's a bird, we can't look at that. I meet birders like that. Honestly, yeah, you know that happens. But
So where do you teach?
Santiago Canyon College and Orange Coast College in Orange County. Yeah. You know, Orange Coast College where Michelle Pfeiffer went. That's like big, right? Yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer went here. You guys should be stoked. Oh, yeah. Did you? Oh, yeah.
First 4 years.
Yeah.
Marina.
Right. Yeah, all right. I've had a tour of OC San during my master's. We did. Everything's big now. So big. Mhm. Where?
Influence Hyperion treatment.
Oh my gosh, yes. They told us lessons about that guy. That's big quantities.
The second largest wastewater treatment plant in the US.
Oh my
Chicago is only
Wow.
bigger.
Wow, well, that makes sense.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
That's fun.
Elizabeth says thank you in the chat.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Bob.
Sure, man. Kim Moore's there, but she's frozen, apparently. She's got a cat glued to her face.
Found a spider in it.
Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous.
There I am.